Welcome to Driven, the Unscripted Success Podcast, with your hosts, Mike Manino and Nariman Hamden, bringing you insights and stories on achieving personal, professional, and financial success.
Hey guys, I'm Nariman Hamden, and this is Driven, Unscripted Success Podcast. We have an awesome guest on today. We have Kim Lisa Taylor, and Kim has been in the finance industry and law for 20 plus years. So Kim has a company called Syndication Attorneys, and her company, she owns a corporate securities law firm that teaches real estate and small business entrepreneurs how to raise capital legally and ethically, and to be very profitable. Hey Kim, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Where are you zooming in from?
Actually, St. Augustine, Florida.
Oh, awesome. Another Floridian. I'm over in Naples.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a lovely area too.
Very cool. So let's get to know a little bit about you. Can you give us a little bit about your background and what you do and what your business is about?
Sure. So I actually started with a different profession. I am also licensed as a professional geologist in the state of California. So I was an environmental consultant for about 15 years, kind of looked into my future, saw where the trajectory of that profession was going and said, yeah, I don't want to do that, and decided to go to law school. So I went kind of late in life. Worked during the day, went to law school at night. I was in Colorado at the time. Didn't really know what kind of law I was going to practice. I started out doing environmental law because I'd already been an environmental consultant and kind of tying the two together. Did some homeowner association litigation, real estate litigation, figured out I just really wasn't cut out for litigation. And then I met someone who was doing corporate securities work and setting up these corporate structures and securities compliance for people who are raising money from private investors to buy commercial real estate, and started working with him, and thought, oh, this is great, because it was a better fit in trying to help people put deals together versus fighting about deals that fell apart.
Right. Yeah, I bet.
It's a lot happier.
Yeah, I would prefer that much more than constant, battles, being on the battlefield at all times.
Yes.
So let me ask you, when you think back, are there moments that you'd say really challenged the game for your career?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly had some big choices to make when I transitioned from one career to another. Certainly had to put in a lot of effort in order to be able to accomplish that, but I think it was well worth it. It was well worth doing the transition because I could see that I wasn't going to be happy if I stayed in the other profession too long. Also, had some challenges. Started out with a California law firm. I'm licensed in California and Florida. Started out with a California law firm with a partner, and we worked really well. And then I decided to move to Florida, and figured out that in order not to be taxed in California, I would have to start my own firm. And so that's kind of what I did. But I had to think long and hard about that, as whether I wanted to actually start something on my own, because I knew it was a big commitment.
Right. And then in a completely different state on top of that, and starting off building your contacts, that's got to be tough in itself. But you seem like a total grinder. I mean, you took on law school later and then conquered a new state and started a new business there. So well done.
Thank you.
So I'd like to ask you a little bit about some insights into your success. So what's a skill or habit that doesn't get enough credit for contributing to your success?
Getting up a little earlier in the morning.
Yeah, I think we all go through that challenge a bit.
Yeah, I've written a couple of books. So the first one, really thin book, took me 9 years.
How to legally raise private money, which you got it done. So
I got it done in 9 years, right? But then I wrote this book, which was really an expansion on the first book, How to Legally Raise.
That one is How to Raise Capital for Real Estate Legally.
Yes,
which is very important.
Yeah, this is
very, very important.
Months. So, and I asked someone else I knew who was very successful at writing books. I said, how do you get them done? And he said, I get up an hour earlier. And so as soon as I started doing that,
hour early.
That's when I got the first one done. And then, I've applied that ever since, every time I'm writing a book. So
Good. That's great. And I mean, you knocked that one out much quicker than 9 years. So good
yes.
job. Nonetheless, I mean, you got that first one out. So well done.
Yeah.
Um, so when you're leading a team has its challenges. What's your leadership style? And can you give us an example of how it helped you through a tough spot?
Boy, gosh, what is my leadership style? I try to surround myself with really great people and let them, try to stay out of their way. Once they understand their job and I've been able to teach them, then I have to learn to say, that's fantastic. I love it the way it is, instead of trying to nitpick and try to micromanage. So, learning not to micromanage and letting people do the things that they're really good at, but also keeping track and control of, how much that's costing, because somebody might be really good at something, but it's taking them 5 times too long to do it. Whereas someone is getting the job done in maybe more efficiently and maybe even more effectively. So you've always got to, I've always got to keep track of who's spending what money on what, and making sure that they're in the right job description, because maybe that person that's taking too long and not being effective doesn't like that job anymore, wants to do something else. So, trying to put the talents of my staff where they belong. I guess somebody said one time, it's putting the people in the right seat on the bus. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good analogy of that. I mean, because if you have somebody, doing something that's just not their role,
mhm.
and it is going to take a lot more time. It's going to take a lot more resources as opposed to putting them in what they like doing. So when you like what you do, you're going to want to do it
Yeah.
and do it well. So yeah, totally get that. How do you encourage your team to think outside the box and bring ideas to the table?
Well, I try to expose them to as many different ideas as I can. People are constantly bombarding me with, hey, would you like to try this or would you like to try that? So I always try to get input from the people that are involved in those areas to say, hey, is this something we should explore? And maybe we'll all get on a Zoom call with them and hear the proposal and hear what it's like. And maybe we'll go with that company. Maybe we'll explore it, do it with someone else, or maybe we just figure out it's not a good fit. But I try to get them a little more involved in helping make those decisions, so that if we do go forward with a project like that, or some new vendor who's going to do something for us and they're going to be involved with it, that they're kind of committed. They've seen the
Yeah, that's
presentation, they like it, they're gonna take ownership of it.
yeah, absolutely. And once you involve them, which makes them feel like they're part of the team,
Absolutely.
if you will, that their thoughts do matter, and that it's not just, no, this is what we're doing, just get it done. So it's good to mastermind,
Yeah.
and collaborate, and then it gets all the creative juices flowing even more so,
Yes.
so that, yeah, I totally agree with that. Um, so what does a day in your life look like? How do you juggle work and everything else?
Yeah, so I have a little saying that I try to impart to my clients and also to my staff, and remind myself all throughout the day. Always remember to live your life, right? Because I'm always upset
Absolutely.
at the end of the day. It's like, I never went outside today and it's already dark. What is that about? That's not right. So trying to get some outside time, taking my dog for a walk, those things, and spending some time with my husband. Those things are, just as crucial and more crucial than the things I'm doing throughout the day in my business.
Yeah, you can't forget to make some squeeze in the husband in between there somewhere.
That's right. That's right.
Keep him
And
happy. Keep
yeah,
him happy.
so typical day is, me getting up, checking emails, usually on my phone because I can get through them faster.
Mhm.
Just having a lot of Zoom calls throughout the day with clients, with staff, with people like you. We do our own podcast called Raise Capital Legally. So we interview people as well. And,
Very nice.
just trying to juggle all of that. I've got a couple more books we're working on right now. So I'll spend some time working on the books or working with the people that are helping produce them. And, just made a lot of Zoom calls, emails, and phone calls. But mostly I'd say probably more consistently throughout the week. I have a lot of staff calls, just trying to keep each department on track, and helping them, with any decisions they need my input on.
Yeah, just keep the wheels moving nonstop. How do you tackle learning new things, especially stuff that was way outside of your comfort zone?
The easiest way that I can do that is to actually go to a physical conference, because then I'm immersed in it. I'm not being bothered by, looking at my emails and all the other distractions of the day. I'm not good at doing home study courses, but anytime I go to a conference, even if it's just a real estate conference where we're doing a booth or something, if I go in and I sit in on the sessions, it starts those juices flowing, and I start getting new ideas and thoughts about things we can implement in our business too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the same way. I'm more hands-on. So I prefer to be in the actual class with other people surrounding me. It's to have that atmosphere, that environment, it just for me, I absorb things better that way as opposed to taking an online class where I'm just kind of like a bird. Anything shiny that I see, I'm like, oh, what's that? Wait, I gotta focus. So totally get it. Totally get it. So without managing finances is crucial both in business and in personal life. How do you approach financial planning to ensure stability and growth in both areas?
I do have a CFO for our business, just recently hired kind of a part-time CFO, and that's helped us kind of take control of where leads are coming from, where we should be focusing more of our marketing efforts, where, the things that maybe aren't giving us the biggest return, cutting back on those. Looking at how we're allocating our resources amongst our staff. If one department is costing too much, maybe, figuring out how we're going to make that more efficient, or maybe cutting back on some of the things that aren't as effective. So just really kind of constantly evaluating what's happening in each department, and having that CFO has really helped. As far as personal finances go, I do leave a lot of that to my husband, but we plan things together, just because I'm kind of immersed in it all day long. So it's hard to also be excited to be immersed in it, after the fact. But we do definitely plan things together, and talk about investments and things like that before we make them. Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful. So let me ask you, with you saying an investment and stuff with your personal money, what is trying to find the right question here. What is a source or form of passive income that or investments that you invest in?
Well, certainly all of our clients are creating syndicates that are raising money from private investors to be passive investors with them. They'll put together an active syndication management team, and then go out and raise the money from passive investors to fund the down payments, closing costs, capital improvement costs, things like that. So I certainly have opportunities to invest with a lot of clients. And sometimes non-clients, right? I'll get exposed to other people's deals through conferences or things like that. I'll look at those opportunities as well. And then we have some of our own personal holdings. We've got a couple of properties that we rent out as kind of midterm rentals. And then sometimes we go stay at the house ourselves, but then other times renting it.
So primarily real estate, which I think is a great investment,
We've got some stock market investments too. Of course, those are a little more volatile. So
yeah, I won't even look at my stock app. I peeked at it on Monday or last Thursday, and I was just like, oh gosh, I can't look at this anymore for at least a month.
Yeah, just let it go.
It's a little scary right now, but hopefully it gets under control sooner rather than later. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about your podcast?
So we do have a podcast and a YouTube channel called Raise Capital Legally. And our objective with the podcast is to introduce our clients and our audience, who are people who are typically raising money for real estate, also small business. But the whole idea is to introduce them to products and services that they need as their companies are growing. And sometimes I'll teach a course, or we'll talk about mindset, things like that, just to keep them on track.
Great. So what's a book or a podcast that or a person that's really changed your outlook or approach?
For me, Miracle Morning was probably the most profound book that had an impact on me personally and professionally. There was a time when I felt like I was stuck in a rut, and it's a really great rut breaker, that book,
Oh,
because
yeah.
it forced, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it forced.
I've heard of it. I'm not too familiar with it, though.
It's fantastic. Anybody that's, suffering any kind of depression, you feel like you're stuck, you don't know where to go, highly, highly recommend it. That's been a big, Hal Elrod is the author of that book, but that was
I'll
pretty
read.
life-changing.
Yeah, I will have to check that book out. I was like a new self-help inspirational book, giving you tips or how to get in the right mindset. So very good. So as we're wrapping up this interview, what exciting plans or initiatives do you have in the works for the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, we've got two books coming out. One is called Beyond Multifamily. The other one is How to Legally Raise Capital for Startups or Small Business. So both of those are going to be coming out really within the next couple of months. Also working on a virtual conference. I'm a co-organizer of a virtual conference called Go Beyond Multifamily. So a lot of the bulk of people who come to us as clients are raising money for multifamily properties, but we're trying to introduce them to the fact that, hey, you don't only have to invest in multifamily. Diversity is good, and here's a lot of other clients and people that are doing all these other things that you might want to look at if you still want to be a real estate investor. And the multifamily market is a little challenging right now.
Yeah.
So got those things going on, just working at, on standard operating procedures, which is critical for a business like ours, that especially if you want to grow. So that, and just streamlining our processes, making everything lean and efficient.
It's a well-oiled machine.
Yes.
Very good. So, lastly, I always like to ask this question, if someone's listening in right now, what tips would you give them if they were looking to get into what you're doing or getting into syndications, anything real estate related or real estate law?
The best thing they could possibly do is actually participate in a syndicate. Maybe they're a law student or a new lawyer, or they're maybe even a seasoned lawyer that wants to expand into a different practice area. We do hire contract lawyers, so we are always looking for people that have different areas of expertise that can complement our business and then help them get some work in those areas. But it's really, try it. Go to a conference. That's what I did. I went to a conference. That's how I learned about it. Went to a private money training course. How to raise money, went to as many as I could actually, and read as many books as I could about it. And once I learned all of that, then started working with someone that was actually doing it. It really launched my career forward to have a mentor and someone who was already in the field. So, find a mentor, find somebody that you can work with, and try doing it yourself. Try syndicating, or even passively investing with somebody else so you get to know what it's about.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I enjoyed getting to know you and learning about your business. It's very, very interesting. So if anyone wanted to get a hold of you and get your help, your input, how do they get a hold of you?
Best way is go to our website, syndicationattorneys.com. And while you're there, you can sign up to get a free book.
Awesome.
But yeah, there's on every page you can schedule a call and either a paid consult with me or a free consult with one of our staff members, just to learn, what we do and how we might be able to help you and what it might cost.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you guys for listening in, and see you guys soon.
Thanks for listening to Driven, the Unscripted Success Podcast. Want to share your story? Apply to be a guest at drivensuccesspodcast.com/guest.